Hey guys, AG Sports coming today with a lot of different stats and breakdowns of the report card. Nicholas, if you are out there, you had reached out to me yesterday asking for a copy of the report card. I did email it to you just before I started making this video, so just check your inbox. I don't know why I couldn't respond back to you on YouTube, but just want to let you know it should be in your inbox. Same goes for the rest of you guys. If anybody else wants a copy of this report card we're about to go over, just reach out to me. Today I'm going to just kind of show you how it's used, how it's constructed, and all that kind of stuff. But I do update this every week, and it's typically every Monday going into Tuesday, just because a lot of the stats don't come out until Tuesday morning. So again, if you want this, I'm not charging for it. You don't have to follow my picks or anything like that. All of this is factual, so it's going to be the same regardless of where you go. This is really just to save you some time. So what I'm going to be showing you today is, again, how these grades are constructed. So the grade, I cannot, I will not, I guess, show you the math behind it. The formula is kind of proprietary, but you can put it together your own. And it's actually kind of better that I don't, because you don't need to be shoehorned into exactly the way that I think. Maybe you think something should be a little bit more heavily weighted or less heavily weighted than another aspect, and it kind of gives you the ability to do so if you want to play with the numbers once you have the report card. First off, one of the things I find to be super important is this one-score game percentage. So how often are they winning one-score games? These numbers here in green are teams that have not played any one-score games yet. What I'm using instead of that is going to just be their win record in closer games, or their win record period. So right now the Broncos are 3-0, they have 100. The Saints are 2-1, so they have a 66. That's as easy as that. Once they have a one-score game, this will take place with their one-score game. But for now, that's what we're going to use. Really, though, this is important. I think I've talked about this before, the one-score game win percentage and just how many one-score games they have. Mainly because a lot of your games, and to be more specific, 50% of the games, or about 50% of the games each week, are going to come down to one score. And you need to know that your coach and your coaching staff knows how to go about winning those one-score games. Again, I mentioned this in the past, but it takes not just the players on the field, but the play calling, even on defense, you need to know what to call. I think if any of you following me on Twitter, you saw I was livid when they started running prevent defenses against the Packers last week, and it just obviously didn't work out. Packers went on to get the field goal they needed. But also time management, knowing, basically not to get penalties, having the players not get penalties, coaching them up, being able to tell your quarterback ahead of time, hey, look, we're going for it off 4. Maybe we're not going to go off 4. We're going to settle for the field goal. Certain things like that may not be self-evident, but it's going to be things that make a coach great instead of being just good. Aside from this, guys, the next aspect in this grade is the EDSR. EDSR, early not success rate, again, another thing I've talked about before, but also the defensive EDSR. So the success rate is how often are you getting at least half the yards needed to get the first down, right? So if it's first down, it's 1st and 10, are you getting more than 5 yards on that first down? Yes, it's successful. No, it's not successful. Defensive EDSR is the exact opposite. How frequently are you stopping the other team from getting those yards needed? So on the defensive EDSR, you want to actually have a low score. Like this 37% here to the Panthers means that only 37% of the time are they allowing you to get half the yardage needed. Whereas like the Rams and the Chiefs are up at almost 60%, you're probably going to get the yards needed to at least get half of the first down, or half of the yards needed to get the first down. Next is the run plays and passing plays. So we break this down into the run EDSR and pass EDSR. So how successful are you when you're running, or how successful are you when you're passing? The passing is more important than the running, because this is going to be situational. Some teams love to pass all the time, like the Bills. Other teams only pass when they absolutely have to. But at the end of the day, the successful passing is really going to dictate a lot of wins and losses. Because if you can successfully pass when you're on 3rd and long, or you can successfully pass on 1st and 10, you should be able to move the chains. So after that, we have the total plays. So how fast is a team running? Some teams are going to be into the 200s already, just 3 games in. 205 like for the Panthers, 207 for the Vikings, 211 for the Titans. And then you have other teams that like to slow the game down as much as possible, like the Saints at 165. So I don't know if I put this one out or not, but I've been betting Jameis Winston under his completions almost every week at this point, because the completions are like 21, 22, 25 is what they're setting the line at, when he's traditionally getting like 16 to 18 completed passes a game. And a lot of that is because the game is so slow. They're running the ball, they're doing a lot of short underneath stuff when they do pass, so they're not giving him a lot of chances to even make these completions. So that's the next portion that goes in here. The blitz rate doesn't really go into the grade so much, but it does have an impact on these other items here. So obviously a team who blitzes more should be getting more turnovers and more sacks. If you're not getting the turnovers or the sacks off the blitz, you really don't need to be blitzing anymore, because now you're just putting your secondary in a bad spot. But if you're blitzing like a 33% and you have a +2 turnover ratio, well, that's actually, relatively successful. But we look at down here with the Cowboys, where you have a 22% blitz rate but a 50% or +5 turnover ratio. That's even better, obviously. Maybe this is a little fluky, but that's where they're at right now. Now, teams like the Titans, who are -6, maybe they should increase their blitz rate a little bit, but more importantly, they're giving up a lot of sacks. And the sacks is really where the issues come in at. If you'll notice, a lot of these teams that give up a lot of sacks, like the Jets are giving up 5 a game. This is per game. Titans are giving up 3 per game. They're having like these -6 and -5 turnover ratios. The turnover ratio is really what goes into the grading system, because the turnover ratio is going to be kind of a reflection of the two of these. The blitzes should give you kind of a plus side on the turnover. The sacks given up are going to probably give you a negative on the turnover ratio. And so this turnover ratio is what really goes into the grading system. QBR, that's, obviously quarterback rating, that's really just pulled off of Madden. But you'll notice again, typically the teams with the higher QBR have higher overall grades. Right now I have it ranked from best grade to worst grade. And the Rams, so your top 10 is right now through this grading system are Rams, Chiefs, Cardinals, Broncos, Vikings, Buccaneers, Packers, Panthers, Raiders, and Cowboys. There's a couple of surprises in here, the Broncos, but I think this grade is more reflective of the teams that they've played, not so much how great the team is itself. And kind of the same thing with the Panthers, really. The Panthers isn't a matter of, hey, they played the Jaguars and they played the Texans, so they probably should look good at this point. But other than that, the other 8 teams on here, I don't think you really argue too much with the grades so far. But the QBR does reflect how good these teams are. Obviously, Matt Stafford with a 828 quarterback rating. That's 82.8 if you look it up on ESPN. Much better than a team even like Jameis Winston with the Saints at a 65.4, meaning his team should win a lot more often. And again, if you haven't heard me say it before, quarterback rating does mean exactly that. How many times should your team win if your quarterback plays up to that level of competition? Lastly is the strength of schedule. So how difficult has your schedule been? And the Rams and the Chiefs obviously have played some tougher opponents. They've played a lot of higher-end teams. Same thing with most of these guys except for the Panthers and the Broncos. And again, these two teams are benefiting from that, from being the absolute easiest schedule and the second easiest schedule through the first 3 weeks. They've really been able to show a lot of great stats. So you want to either be really, really hard and showing out and playing as great as you can, or you want to have the easiest schedule and just keep your head above water, and that should get you a pretty high grade. But either way, that's the way the grading system breaks down. This is kind of what you can look for in the grading report card that I'd be sending you. Again, if you haven't already asked for it, just put your name down in the comments, whatever you feel comfortable giving. It's email, Twitter, Facebook, whatever kind of social media you have that, again, you feel comfortable putting on YouTube. Or if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, that's fine. But just direct messages. It's at AG_sports21. Either way, let me know. I'd be happy to get this out to you. Again, totally free, and if nothing else, you can at least have a quick little cheat sheet to come look at your chart here and say, hey, look, this is what a team is good at or bad at. This is who so-and-so is playing and what is maybe projected to happen. Aside from that, though, guys, one last thing I wanted to show you with the Madden rankings is really the breakdowns of certain positions. So I'm using the Cowboys as an example here because they are playing the Panthers, who we keep bringing up. The Cowboys breakdown talent-wise or player-wise, receivers are better than the Panthers corners. The Cowboys tight end is not as good as the Panthers linebacker. The Cowboys O-line is just a little bit better than the Panthers defensive line. And this is current active players. This is not like the starting roster from the summertime. This is who is currently active and healthy and will be out on the field come game day. The Panthers are the exact opposite. The only advantage they have over the Cowboys is their wide receiver core, which is really just DJ Moore. But what this doesn't show is that the Cowboys, if you have not been watching, have Trayvon Diggs, who's quickly becoming a shutdown corner, and they should be able to stick him on DJ Moore and probably slow him down. So if you're playing fantasy or daily or anything like that, you may want to stay away from him. Not that he can't, beat a bad matchup, but I do think he's going to have the hardest assignment on the day, and he's probably going to get shadowed for the most part. So if you wanted to take a shot on a guy like Terrence Marshall, who may get the easier coverage, the easier checkdowns, and is probably going to need to catch some balls for the team to even stay competitive in this one, with the Cowboys, set up for a pretty heavy day on offense, you may want to go Terrence Marshall, whether you're looking at props or daily or just season-long fantasy. He may be the best player from the Panthers this upcoming week. But if we go through the rest of the Madden simulations here, a lot of teams have pretty even matchups, like the 49ers and the Seahawks. 49ers have advantages on offense pretty much all across the board. The Seahawks almost have the same with the exception of their offensive line. But if you look at their run to pass rate, the Seahawks are passing a lot more. They're passing at 57%, where the 49ers are only passing at 47%. So the advantage they have with the wide receivers should be more pronounced than the advantage that the 49ers have, especially since it's not as big of an advantage as what the Seahawks are going to bring to the table. The Browns really have their advantages more on the O-line and the tight end, which is what we expect from the Browns, a lot of runs and short passes to guys like Austin Hooper, where the Vikings are going to really be able to beat them in the wide receiver room. But it's not a huge advantage. The corners for the Browns are really good and can keep up with guys like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. The Patriots playing the Buccaneers. This one is... I really actually stopped on this one here because the Buccaneers just had advantages all over the place. I can go back in here and create the numbers if that's something you want to see. But again, just suffice it to say, the Buccaneers are heads above the Patriots everywhere across the field right now. The Rams, and this is going to be the Rams-Cardinals. The Rams, again, receiving core, and the offensive line has a slight advantage where the Cardinals are really... Their only advantage comes in from the tight end room, and it's not much of an advantage. This is kind of what leads me to think that the Rams will win this game, but I think the Cardinals are going to have some matchups across the board that they're going to find some help with here, because this cornerback to receiver rating, this is really Jalen Ramsey taking out DeAndre Hopkins, and the rest gets kind of subsidized from there. But I think if you look further down the roster, if you go to guys like Rondale Moore, you're probably going to have advantages where the wide receiving core for the Cardinals is going to stay pretty high level through like their fourth and fifth receiver, and the corners and the DBs on the Rams are maybe only like 2 or 3 deep, especially with Ramsey being the best. Obviously, the rest of them are really just guys after him. But that's, again, why I expect the Rams to win, but the Cardinals to be involved in a shootout. Ravens and Broncos, this is another good one because I have both teams highlighted on the chart every week. This is one I really feel strongly about, and I do feel like the game is going to probably be a close one, but I do think the Ravens end up winning this game. On the tease that we had, we were able to get the Ravens +7, and you can actually get them +8 right now if you were to tease them. I got up to 7 because I thought the number was going to go the other way. The Broncos just have played, again, they have the easiest schedule throughout the first 3 weeks. The Ravens have had a much more difficult schedule. They've had the 13th strength of schedule, so 13th toughest schedule, and I think that's going to show. I think you're going to see the Ravens show up for this game. They had that letdown against the Lions. It should have woke them up. And the Ravens have some receivers coming back. I have not critiqued that just yet because they have not been listed as officially active for game day. So right now they're listed as about a 77 in the receiver room, but that could go up with guys like Bateman coming back off the IR. Mark Andrews is a big advantage over the linebackers. Their offensive line is a little bit better than the defensive line for the Broncos. The Broncos, though, really don't have any receiver depth anymore, especially now that KJ Hamler is gone for the season. Jerry Jeudy's still recovering. They are down to like 3 active receivers that I know of. That really stunts not only the receiving room, but just kind of what that offense can do. And as a defense for the Ravens, they should be expecting a run-heavy day and be able to kind of shut that down and just leave your guys on an island. If Cortland Sutton beats you, he beats you. But that's really the only thing you're worried about. And if you can just kind of isolate that one guy, you should be able to win this game. And even at that, the Ravens still have a cornerback advantage over the receiving room for the Broncos. The Broncos do have an advantage with tight end with Noah Fant, but I have not seen them using him a lot. I could see them using him a lot more now that KJ Hamler is out. So we'll see where he goes with that. And then the defensive line for the Ravens is actually better than the Broncos' offensive line, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. But because there's just not a real strong advantage anywhere here other than Noah Fant, I don't see the Broncos having enough firepower to pull this one out. If the Ravens can really isolate Cortland Sutton and make sure that he is having to win this entire game by himself, I see the Ravens pulling this one out. And if you can get the +8 at this point or +7, I'm all over that. Even if they lose this game, I have them, all the grades and everything that have them listed as losing this game, have them listed as losing by about 6. So the 7 and 8 is going to be more than enough value to get that cover. Lastly, you have the Bills. The Bills versus the, man, I mean, I don't even want to call this a game at this point. They are playing the Texans, but the Texans are just terrible all over the place. Texans do not have one single advantage area to kind of take it, obviously take advantage of, where the Bills are just up and down the field better than these guys. They should win this game easily going away. It's like a -16 at this point, so I don't think I'm going to lay the 16. That's just a lot of points to lay and a lot of backdoor opportunities, even though I think the Bills will cover. And I think if you lay the 16 points, I don't think you're crazy. I think you'll probably get that win. It's just not for me. I try to not lay double digits if I don't have to. But again, all the numbers point to a big win, and a 16-point win is not out of the ordinary. Teams win by more than 20 points pretty consistently. And actually, you know what? I might be able to tell you exactly how consistently if I can pull up my numbers here. So teams throughout this year, teams are winning by more than 20 points 11% of the time. So that's one of the games. 1 out of 16 that's more than enough. You guys do not be scared off by that 16. Again, just know it's not for me. But that all being said, guys, hopefully we were able to learn something here. I will probably be adding one more pick as we get through closer to kickoff for this season, or for this week, I should say. But we'll look to that. Like I said, we are still waiting on a couple of items to come in and a couple of lines to move and see where we can grab some value. But thanks again, guys. If anybody's interested in college football, I do think USC -7 is a good pick this week. I'm not putting it on this particular chart. I'm not going to list it in the comments. But if you listened to this entire video, you might want to take a look at that play with USC -7 versus Colorado. A lot of advantages there. A lot of touts that I follow that I'm listening to, and a lot of analytic people do think that USC should be able to cover that game relatively easily. So take a look at it. But thanks again, guys. Good luck and have a great day.